Okay, new video here. I am in the process of diagnosing why my 12-volt fridge will not work in my van. So that's what we're here to do. You might have seen me touch on this in my last episode where I was doing my brakes and my heavy-duty leaf spring update. But I'm just going to climb, well actually I'm not going to climb the van. But if you look here, well first of all, I have power back here because my light works. And if you look here, well, you probably can't read that. It says 12.2, 12.1. Literally a minute ago, before I started shooting this video, it said 12.4. But then I looked over here, and this one said 12.2. Now it says 12.1. So I came over here, and I got my voltmeter out, and I tested. Hold on. And I tested it. You're not going to see this very well, but I touched my terminals. Turn this on. And I touched my terminals on my battery, and I got, oh, now it's 11.99. It was literally just 12.06, but I guess maybe my light is killing the battery right now. So I think that means my battery is dead, or nearly dead. But I'll go over here. Actually, I'll flip this switch on. I'll go over here. And this is going to be upside down, but you can see my fridge is on. But now I got an E1 error code. So I looked it up online, and that is a low voltage power warning code. So that leads me to think that it is my battery. And then I did test this with the 120 volt household power adapter that I absolutely cannot find right now, but I tested it 2 days ago, and it works fine on household power. So it does not work in my van. So again, I think it's my battery. And I have this adapter here. This is my household plug adapter. Actually, I'm gonna go grab something. Okay, so this is a 250 watt max heater. So this is my first sign that something was off with my battery, but I did not put two and two together until until now essentially. But this is supposed to be 125 on low, or 150 on low, and 250 on high. It's a low, and I thought I could use it like, it's a low output heater, and I thought I could sort of use it as an emergency type of thing, or just like to heat up the van first thing in the morning for, you know, a few minutes. But when I took it on a trip, I turned this on, which is a 500 watt inverter, and I plugged that in. So I turned it on. Well, let's go actually. There we go. We'll go turn it on low. And it works. But as soon as you go to high, my inverter starts to scream at me. So I don't think it has enough juice to power the 250 watt heater. It works on low but not on high. So at first I just kind of assumed that it just, you know, the inverter didn't have enough power to power that, which felt weird to me. But now upon further review, and now my fridge has failed me. My fridge should be fine, but the fridge has failed. It's like, oh, it must be the battery. And I think this might be a lesson in being cheap. So when I built this van, I got this AGM battery, deep cycle, which was not cheap, but compared to a lithium ion setup, it was so much cheaper to run it this way. But I've had this battery, I will say less than 3 years. I do not know the exact time frame that I've had this battery, but I would have had 3 summers in this van that this battery would have been involved. So not all with heavy use or anything like that. But the biggest reason I went with this AGM type battery was cost. Because the lithium ion, first of all, costs way more. I shouldn't say way more. It costs more I think a considerable amount, but I do not know the exact prices. It costs more just for the battery, but then to power it, you need the DC to DC charger, which was a lot more expensive than what I have, which I'll hop out. Ooh. And I'll show you what I got going here. A Keyline battery isolator, which was like $100, and the DC to DC charger costs significantly more than that. So between the cost savings of the battery isolator and the AGM battery, it seemed like a good idea at the time. But now, 2 years later, I'm about to go get this battery tested, and if it fails, I'm going to have to get a new one. So in 3 years, the cost is going to be very similar to the lithium ion setup, I think. So yeah, that's what I'm about to do. I'm going to pull this battery out quick. I'm going to head to Canadian Tire, get it tested, and yeah, we'll find out if it passes the test. And if not, I'm going to replace it. And then we're going to make sure that everything works. So I pull out my battery and head to Canadian Tire to get it tested. While I was there, I eased my pain of having to buy a new $400 battery by eating at the Lully's hot dog stand in the parking lot. This place is awesome. It's actually been blowing up lately because Bethany Frankel of Real Housewives fame randomly did a food tour of my hometown of Abbotsford, BC, and went viral eating one of these hot dogs. I always get the dirty dog, which is a 12-inch dog on a pretzel bun, smothered in Montreal smoked meat, cheese curds, chimichurri sauce, onion jam, and probably some other stuff. Don't ask questions, just get one. They are delicious. Now let's eat.
The world's famous Lully's dirty dog. So good.
Okay, I'm back to work here. So my battery officially failed its test, so I picked up a new one. It's exactly the same battery as it was before. It's got 92 amp hours, AGM. It's a Group 27. And I found out my battery, I purchased it 3 years ago, just about 3 years ago in April. So it lasted just about 3 years. So thinking about it, I was like, that's not that bad of a service life for this battery. Oh, and I did pay $400, including taxes, for this thing. So I thought about it, and that's not that bad of a service life. But then when I thought about it even harder, it really lasted 2 years and a bit, because yeah, like it did not last through this winter well enough to continue powering, or to power my heater, so I discovered that fact in, I think, December, maybe late November. So it was already on its way out then, and then it totally died. That's the new year, so whatever, I'll call it February. So it was like just under 3 years that it totally failed, but it was failing before then. So I got like 2.5 summers out of it. So I'm back to thinking that it was not a good deal. So I've bought two $400 batteries, which is probably less than the cost of a lithium ion battery. I'm not 100% sure, but I did save some money with the isolation solenoid. So instead of a DC charger, so I'm probably around that same cost over 3 years. But now I didn't want to make any changes, so it was easier just to replace it. But, like I said, I should have probably went lithium ion to start. But maybe that battery also would have failed in the same amount of time. I have no idea. Anyways, I'm going to take this battery, I'm going to put it back in its hole, then we're going to test my fridge, double check that that was the problem, and yeah, that's that. Okay, battery is connected, and I'm gonna come over here, pop my hood, boom. Hopefully we can get this open. My hood latch is hoop, so this might be a bit of an ordeal here. Okay, then we're gonna come over here. We're gonna reconnect the battery isolator, and I'll close this hood again. And we're gonna come back over here, and we are going to turn on the fridge. We have power. Oh, I just felt the compressor kick on. So it's officially working, which is cool. And if you see here, I got a new lighted switch, but I will turn that off again. That switch is now connected to this relay with, I think it's 12 gauge wire, which is a little bit beefier, but because I had the low voltage warning, I thought I would use the opportunity to beef up the wire. Originally, I just had it wired to this multi-function switch panel on 16 gauge wires, including a long run of wire from my fuse box. I probably should have had this on its own relay from the start, but it doesn't much matter now because it is fixed. Beefed up the wiring, fridge works, and I guess we can do one final test here. Turn on my inverter. I'll grab my heater out of here, my mini heater. I'll throw this up here. Oh, and lights still work. We'll take this heater, we'll plug it into the inverter, and now let's go with low. And let's go high. There we go. My mini electric heater works. It does not scream in pain like it did before. So, I don't know how long that heater will run for in my van, but in my mind it was kind of like an emergency heat situation. I could turn it on and warm up the van in the morning or in the middle of the night if I had to. And now that works officially. So this job's pretty much done. It is done. I got 12.6 reading on here. So that's pretty cool. Turn that off. Turn that off. I just got to re-put my panel back up here. I got all the screws sitting here, but you don't really need to see that. So that's it. That's the end of this episode. It isn't always cheap to be cheap. Problem with the AGM batteries. That's it. That's the end of this episode. Peace.